so we are, just as a quick reminder and a little housekeeping, we are recording the session. So for those that are unable to join us either right at the start or at all, that had registered, we will be making the recording available for them. Yeah, we may as well get underway. I guess it's our pleasure to welcome our special presenter for this evening, Jen. Very nice to have you with us. We've been actually thinking about a number of different presentations we could give, and there's a topic that keeps coming up time and time again, not just from us, which makes me feel better, but a lot of folks are asking, okay, we're familiar maybe with some of the other social media platforms, but not fully familiar with Instagram. And in talking with Jen, we come to learn that she knows quite a bit more than she lets on sometimes. So we figured who better to come and share some of that knowledge with us. So Jen, it is over to you. You should have the ability to share your screen as and when you need. Yes. And please take it away.
All right, so I'll just do a little bit of an intro about why I'm here talking about Instagram with you guys before I get started. I do have some slides to share. So as you saw and when you signed up, there had a little bit of a story that I kind of started using Instagram about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit more than that. And I literally started with nothing. There was really just like friends and family that I had on my Instagram, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And then someone who I know kind of gave me a little bit of a run through, kind of like what I'm going to be doing with everybody today. And then I realized how much potential Instagram had for my business. So I gave it a good old try, and I kind of jumped in, not really knowing what I was getting into. And it's been a journey. You're not going to be super successful right away, as with anything. It takes some time to build up. But I have to say that along the journey, I have figured out kind of what works and what doesn't. And I feel like I have enough experience now to give that knowledge to other people. So without further ado, I will get started. And if anybody doesn't know who I am a doula, a birth doula and postpartum doula. Let me see, are you gonna let me, there we go. Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, perfect, awesome. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'm a birth and postpartum doula, and I feel like with Instagram, it doesn't matter what your business is, you are still going to be able to use it in some capacity. It definitely has potential for every type of business. So what are we going to cover tonight? We're going to go over what is Instagram. Why would we want to use Instagram for your business? How to use Instagram. I'm just going to go over the basics. So I'm going to start pretty basic and then kind of get into a little bit more detail closer to the end. Finding your ideal client and how to get your ideal client to find you using Instagram. Understanding what makes a great post and how to avoid some common mistakes, and also some time for Q&A at the end. So what is Instagram? A lot of people don't know, and that is very okay. Instagram is, of course, a social media platform like Dave and Linda were talking about, and it is entirely visual. So it is made up of pictures and videos as its primary content, and the text is kind of just a little extra. It's really about the pictures and the videos. There are personal accounts that people can have, and there are also business accounts. And people will use their accounts for different reasons. That kind of makes up the big grand scheme of things. As with any kind of social media platform, there are some platforms that are going to be better for certain businesses and some platforms that are better for others. It really depends on what your primary target audience is. So why would you want to use Instagram for your business? So there are many people who will only use Instagram and they won't really use much else in terms of social media apps. Just like there's also lots of people who will only be using Facebook or only be using Pinterest. It kind of really depends on the person. By using a different social media app, you could be opening up your business to a new market. So if you were primarily using Facebook for your business, you might be tapping into a new market that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to access if you were only on Facebook. for example. And make sure that if you are, if a potential client is searching for you, you want to make sure that they can find you. So having an account for kind of most of the social media apps that are out there is usually recommended. And that way, if someone's searching for you, they're able to find you. It's going to be your pictures, your branding, and your voice that they find wherever they're searching for. So even if you're not intending to use it consistently, it's still a good idea to kind of have that account open and kind of be sending people to other spots. So most social media, you can put your website or an email that someone can contact you with. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty. How do you use Instagram? So the screenshot that I have right there is what your feed would look like. And that's just one portion of what the feed would look like. If you open up your Instagram app, if you happen to have it on there, you actually just scroll through and see content like that. That's how this app works. You just scroll and you get to see all of this amazing content that is on your feed. And now every piece of content will have the ability to have engagement with. So if you see over here, there's a little heart. If you touch that, that means that you've liked the post and it's showing the person that you've read it and that you're enjoying their content. You can also leave a comment. So there's a little comment bubble and you can see at the very bottom it says add a comment and you can comment on the post. This is a great way to not only show that you like the post from that account, but it's also a great way to get exposure with other people. If your ideal client likes this post and they're leaving a comment and reading the comments, they are going to see your comment as well. And if they notice your username, they might click on it and then go to your account and actually see your content. This is one of the reasons why choosing a username is a really important aspect of your business account. If your username is your business name, then people will know a little bit more about who you possibly are. There's a little flag, or sorry, there's a little kind of paper airplane. You can send this content to another person, another user who you're friends with, or you can also send it to your story. And I'm going to tell you what that story is about a little bit later. And at the very bottom, there is a menu. So there's a little home there. That's your home. So this will bring you back up to the top of your screen and show you new content if you click that, if you're already on your news feed. Oh, what was that? There's a little spyglass right here, and that is to search. You can search by username. You can search by a hashtag. So I could do, hashtag KW awesome or hashtag nature pictures or things like that. And that can help you find users that might be your ideal client. The middle button is a little plus sign. That's how you make a post. The heart right here is your activity. So if someone's liked your post, if someone's left you a comment, if someone has tagged you in a post, then that will show up where that heart is. And then the last icon is just your profile. So it's a little circle of your profile picture. And when you click on that, it will take you to your profile. Now, what shows up in your feed is going to be posts from accounts that you have followed, suggested content from hashtags that you've used in the past or searched for, and also sponsored ads. So that could be from accounts that Instagram thinks that you might like, and underneath the name of the account, it will say sponsored if it is an ad. So they do that, so you know the difference. So your profile, you would click on that little icon at the very bottom to get into your profile. This is where you would update your information. You're going to want to make sure that the name field is the name of your business so that when people click on your profile, they know what your business's name is. If you just put your own name, then that's all they're going to see when they go on your profile. And then you also have a chance to put in a description here. So usually you'll want to keep it pretty short and sweet. You'll want to put in what you're doing and your location if you are a location-based business. Under that is your website. So you can put your website. You can put a link to some content that you might have recently spoken about in a recent post. Or like me, there are a few different apps or platforms that you can use where you can actually have multiple links for people to click on instead of being just stuck with just your website there. So you can experiment with changing this often. And I do recommend that you do that and see what tends to get more clicks. If it's your website or if it's a piece of content that you're putting on, you can change that up pretty frequently. Right here in the middle where it says plus new, and then there's a whole bunch of little circles there, that's your highlights. And this is where you can make new categories to put saved stories. So again, I'm going to talk about stories in a minute, but just keep that in mind that the stories are normally only available for 24 hours. And this highlight portion in your profile is where you can save those stories that otherwise would have disappeared. So if you made a really good story, like maybe you had a live or a video and you want to keep that for potential clients to see, then making this highlight reel right here is a really great way to save that content. Your grid. So this is under your profile. So all I've done is kind of scroll down in my profile and kind of show you what that looks like. So I was just here with you guys up here with my profile. Then when you scroll down, this is your grid. This is all the posts that you have are in your profile. So when someone clicks on your name in Instagram, they get to your profile and they're going to see all of your posts in one place in a grid format. You want to make sure that the content that you're posting is going to be on your, like, speaking with your brand voice. So you're going to want to use your brand colors. You're going to want to stick with fonts that you're using on other social media platforms, on your website, things like that. You're going to want to make sure that you're using photos with colors that mostly match your brand and that speak of what your brand is all about. Do what works for you. You can see in this first slide, I have some pre-made text-only posts, and I've kind of started to make a little bit, of a pattern with that. And then on the other slide, you can see that it's primarily photos and less text. So it's not like you have to start with something and keep on going with it. You can really change things up. So just experiment and see what works and what you like the best aesthetically. It's really a personal preference. So for the pattern that I have started, I'm doing kind of like one text and then 3 photos, and then one text and then 3 photos. And there are many different ways that you can kind of organize your grid, and there's a lot of information out there if you choose to want to do that. So how to make a post. So how do you get those pictures in that grid? So you click on that bottom icon that I showed you before, that little plus sign. Let's see, the plus sign right in the middle, right there. And then when you click on that, this picture comes up. You're going to have access to any pictures that you've taken in your phone, any videos that you've taken with your phone, and then you choose what you want. So you can choose from the gallery, and you can also take a picture right in the moment if you want, if you click on photo right here. You can also do that with a video as well. Once you've pressed that, then you now have the option to edit your photo. So the first one, you can use a filter, so that can change the brightness. It can change it to black and white. It can brighten up your photo. So it's a really nice way to just kind of keep the same kind of colors for your branding if you want to do that. You can also click on edit, and there's a lot of different options right there. It's only showing 4 in this example, but there's a lot more options. And so there's adjust, brightness, contrast, structure, warmth, saturation, color, fading, like a whole bunch of different options. So this is something that you may want to play around with to kind of get the look that you're going for in your profile. After you're done that, you've edited your video or your picture, you click next, and then this is where you write the text that goes with your photo. It's called a caption, and you'll write it up in the area that's right next to the picture that you've chosen. It really doesn't matter how long it is. Some people will keep things very short, and some people will write a very, very long, almost like a blog post amount of text. Again, it's kind of experimenting, seeing what your ideal clients tend to prefer. You'll see later which posts get more engagement than others. So it's kind of will help you to see what posts do better. With the caption, you also have the option, and I absolutely recommend that you use it, to use up to 30 hashtags. Now, hashtags kind of can make or break how much exposure that you're getting. A lot of people tend to use hashtags that describe their post, which is okay, but you also want to use hashtags that your potential client might be searching for in order for that to show up for your clients. So for example, if I was writing a post about myself and saying how, you know, I am a doula in KW and I'm just reintroducing myself, I probably wouldn't use the hashtag, just hashtag doula, because it's so broad. When you put in a hashtag, it'll show how many people are using that hashtag. And the greater the number, the less amount of times you're going to be showing up for your specific client, especially if you're location-based. You don't want to use a very broad hashtag. So in my case, I might use hashtag KW doula or Kitchener doula, and that will make it a little bit smaller. Now again, my ideal client probably isn't searching for, you know, hashtag KW doula. So then I would be using hashtags that I think my ideal client would be using. So maybe, you know, like Grand River Hospital, KW awesome, you know, expecting new parents, so things like that. And every time you're using a hashtag, it's going to show you how many people are using this hashtag. So you want to use one that's not too low. You wouldn't want to use one that only 5 people are using, because you're not going to show up in anybody's search then, because not enough people are using that. So you kind of want to get in the middle. You're not going to want 1 million and you're not going to want 5. So you kind of want to be a little bit in the middle. You can see, you can also add a location. You can tag people. Adding a location is always good if it's relevant for your post. And you can also post to additional apps. So Facebook and Twitter, I have linked up with my account. And I do have it that whenever I post on Instagram, that it does post onto my Facebook as well. So that way I'm not having to always post in Facebook as well. That being said, I do recommend also doing original content in different places. So I also post exclusively in Facebook, and that wouldn't go on Instagram. But we can talk more about that if you guys are interested. Also, I will say, if you're not sure how to add these links, it's kind of in your profile. It would only be on the app. So there's a few things for Instagram that you can only do on the app, and they don't work on the desktop version. So keep that in mind. Adding a link to your profile, I believe, is one of the ones that's only on the app. To do that, you would, let me see. You would click on first your little profile button in the bottom. Once you're on your profile, then you click on the 3 bars that are, let me see if I can, come on. Anyway, there's 3 bars just basically up in this upper corner that you would be pushing. And then you can go to, oh, sorry, no, sorry, the settings. The settings at the bottom, right here. This one right here, it looks like a little wheel, and that's the settings. And in settings, you can find where you link your accounts under account. So if you have need help with that, then just let me know. All right, so how to add a story. This is something that I feel a lot of people don't really know what it's all about and how to use it effectively. So with stories, it's up in the upper right corner. It'll just say your story, and then there's a little plus, and you just click on the plus, and then it will take you to the screen that I have where you see my smiling face. So once you get to adding a story, there's a few different options that you can do. You can just use what's in front of you or yourself, obviously. You can switch that with the little camera switch there. You can take a picture and share that. You can take a video and share that. You can also scroll at the bottom. Right here it says normal. You can also go down to create, and that would create a text post. You can also do a live, much like a Facebook Live. You can do an Instagram Live through your stories. You can do a boomerang, which is just like a funny kind of like little short video that loops. And you can also add a whole bunch of different special effects. You can see that there's the circle that's blank, and then there's that kind of cloudy wave here and a sparkle here, and that just adds special effects to the image. That is just personal preference if you want to use that or not. There's plenty of businesses that do use those options. Once you take your picture, I actually didn't get this far, I think, in this. I didn't take a picture of this, but once you take your picture, you get a whole bunch of options at the top of how you can kind of jazz up your picture. So you can add a tag to another person or business. You can add a sticker. You can add a hashtag. It gives you a whole bunch of different options. And to be completely honest, with all of the stuff that you can do with stories would be a whole other video series. So maybe we'll save that for next time. But there's a lot of different options, so I do recommend testing things out. And like I said before, these stories, they only appear for 24 hours and then they disappear. So if it's something that you weren't super keen on, then you know it's not going to stay on your feed. You also can always delete them. If you put something up and you're like, oh, that was terrible, you can always delete it, just like you can also delete a post from your feed as well. All right. And getting to the goods, the analytics, this is kind of showing you if all of your hard work with your new Instagram is paying off. Now, this is where you want to make sure you have a business account, because this is not available if it's a personal account. You get your analytics from your profile, and then on those the three bars that were at the top here that I was talking about earlier, and then you click on Insights. Now, Insights are only available on the app, not on the desktop. So keep that in mind. You cannot find it on the desktop. And there is a whole bunch of incredible data on there that is going to help you to see if what you're doing is being effective. So you can see on the one I have here that I had 8 posts and stories that I had shared in the past week. They only show you a week's worth of insights at a time, unless you have a high user business account. So I think you have to have like 10,000 followers or something crazy in order to get like extra analytics out of it. And then if we go next to the activity, you can see I've switched from content to activity. It gives me even more information. So on the most left screen, from the content that I was sharing that week. Now, you can see that my reach has gone down from the previous week. I'm down 555 from the week prior. So it's kind of nice to see which weeks what content does better, and it gives you a better idea of if what you're sharing is actually what your audience wants to see. Impressions, these are also people who could have seen your content. And again, it went down quite a bit from one week to the other because I also reduced the amount of posts that I was doing. I do know that that was the reason. It also will tell you interactions. This tells you really how much engagement you're getting, how many people clicked on your account name, how many people wanted to see more about you because they liked the content that they saw. Yeah, so then you can also see how many profile visits, so 61. And then website clicks, so clicking on my website link was 2 last week, for the last previous week. And then you can also see how many followers you have, how many people have unfollowed you, and how many people have followed you, along with top locations. So if you're a location-based business, this is super important to know where the people are that you're reaching. Same thing, it also gives you gender and age. This is, again, showing you, are you reaching your ideal client? So for me, absolutely. I am reaching primarily women, which is what my business primarily serves. And then the age range is also within what I'm expecting. And then you can also see when your followers are the most active. So you can see what time of day that your followers are clicking on your content. Now, that can help determine when you would like to post your content. Sometimes your content will do better if you post at a certain time of the day. However, if you're just starting out, I wouldn't really worry about what time you're posting at. Before we go on, I'll also mention that what I just clicked on was actually insights for my whole entire account, but you can also click on specific posts, and there's always a little button right here that says view insights, and if you click that, it will tell you how many likes you have, how many comments, how many people shared your content, and how many people saved your content. And it will also tell you how many people viewed your profile and what your reach was for that specific piece of content. So this is a great way of narrowing down what is working with your audience and what is falling flat. So you might realize that, I know for me, text posts tend not to do as well. If it's a very curated post, it doesn't do as well for me personally. Whereas pictures of myself, this picture of my new virtual setup in my post, if you've been following me, did amazingly well. I got much more engagement. I had 51 likes, some comments, some saves, and 24 profile visits, which is really good for a specific post for me. So that is definitely a very valuable thing that you're going to want to keep an eye on. So how to find your ideal client. Of course, you've made your Instagram, but you don't have anyone following you, or you're not following anybody. So you're going to want to make sure that you are liking and commenting on accounts where your ideal client might likely be following. So it could be a local business. Like for me, I'm a doula. I work primarily with families who have young children. So I'm following accounts like Play a Latte and Recharge and Play because my ideal client would likely be following those accounts. And if you're engaging in that content, then your ideal client is going to be seeing your name pop up and seeing that you're active. You're also going to want to follow other passion partners and engage on their posts. So when I say passion partner, I mean another business who you could potentially refer to, and they could potentially refer people to you. So for me, that would be healthcare providers like chiropractors, massage therapists, pelvic floor physios. These are all people who I follow and I engage with, again, because I would likely be using them as a referral for my client, and they might be referring to me. And my ideal client is likely following them as well. Once you have some followers that you are following, and hopefully they're your ideal client, you're going to want to make sure that you're engaging with the followers that you already have. Some of that will show up in your feed when you're scrolling down your feed, and you'll want to like things, you'll want to put comments when it's appropriate. Let me see, what was I going to say? If you're having a hard time finding some of those people, though, maybe you know you followed someone and you can't find them again. If you go in your profile, you'll see that you have your followers and following. If you click on following, all of the people that you're currently following will show up in a nice list. And then you can click on that specific person and maybe see if they have any new content, and then maybe you might be able to engage with them. So if it's someone who is an ideal client and they followed you, maybe you can click on their account if it's not private, and you might be able to content. Now, when I say that, make sure that what you're commenting is actually appropriate. Make sure that it's not salesy. Make sure that it's not like kind of weird like that. You wouldn't just leave a comment just because. You want to make sure that it's actually commenting on the post that they've done. So if it's like a cute backyard picture, you could be like, oh my gosh, I love your lawn or your backyard or things like that. And it doesn't have anything to do with your business. You're just engaging and making sure that people are seeing you in their feed. All right, so how to make a great post. So that can be hard. It's kind of, again, you have to kind of make some things and see how they do. But these are some of the things that I have found that have helped make more effective posts for myself. So no one wants to get told what to do. You need to tell them a story. You need to get them hooked, and you want to get them interested in reading more. I have found personally that a lot of educational items where I'm really trying to educate people don't tend to do as well unless it's really telling a story or is funny. So recently I did a post when I was sitting on the back of a toilet, and it was educational, teaching about a labor position. But that's why it did well, because it was kind of funny, it was interesting. But if I had just done a text graphic and was talking about the labor position of being on a toilet, it probably wouldn't have been nearly as successful as that other post was, because that was an engaging video. So I do, yeah, you need to experiment. I do a lot less educational and kind of telling things at people's stuff, and a lot more storytelling about myself and about, you know, like the values that I have, and kind of bringing people on a story. You're going to want to make sure that you're sharing more than just your product or service. Your feed is kind of like a living visual resume. You don't want it to just be sales, 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 because nobody wants to read that. You really want to get them to like you. So you want to share content that's going to help with that know, like, trust factor. So for me, I share a lot of pictures of myself. Pictures of yourself always do really well. Same thing with videos. And I also tend to use my stories for more kind of personal stuff. So that's where you'll see, you know, pictures of my baking, or me in the kitchen baking away and talking. That stuff, like the fun stuff, I keep in my stories mostly, and then it's a bit more businessy in my feed. So experimenting with what works best for your business is a great way to do that. And like I said before, use hashtags effectively. Don't use the same hashtag in every post, because Instagram will penalize you and your post will not be showing up in people's feeds. You want to make sure that the hashtag is relevant to the topic that you're talking about in the picture. And you also want to make sure you're using a variety of different hashtags. You can do research for hashtags by just searching them in the search feature on Instagram and seeing what pops up. Seeing how many people are searching for those hashtags really helps you as well determine if it's going to be a useful hashtag or not. And there's a lot of information on how to find hashtags that will be effective, and it does include a lot of experimentation. So just keep that in mind. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see people doing, is that they just copy and paste the same hashtags all the time in the same groupings all the time, and that definitely will hurt you. You can tell how many people are finding you from the hashtag. So again, if I go on a specific post and look at the insights, if I swipe up, it gives me even more information. So I can see on this post that 41% of the people that I reached were not following my account. So 41% of the people who saw this post aren't following me. I can also see that 142 people saw the post from the hashtag that I used. So all of that information is in the insights. So if it wasn't a good hashtag, then there's going to be a lot less people who are finding you. So to compare, with this other post that I had, the one that was of my kids, only 12% of the people who saw this post were not following me. So that's a lot less. And only 26 people found me from my hashtags for that post. So that post was not a good one for me in terms of reach for my hashtags, and also reaching a new audience. So now that I have talked your ears off, I want to know if you guys have any questions.
It's a quiet crowd. Is it still sinking in? I know Linda and I, we've been like, we didn't know that.
Practicing.
We didn't know that. Is there anything that you guys would like to know a little bit more about, maybe?
Yeah, because I didn't share everything by any means.
Jen, do you use a scheduling platform at all, or do you just create posts and then go in on a daily basis, or what do you use as far as scheduling?
So I used to use an app for scheduling. I used Planoly, and I've used Plan in the past. So if you are very busy, using a scheduling app is completely fine. You tend to get better engagement and visibility if you're posting natively from the app itself and not it getting pushed from a third party. That being said, not everybody has the time to like sit down and you know, copy paste the stuff that they had already done and put it into the app. So sometimes that's not an option, but if you're really busy, you can use those types of apps to actually automatically send the posts out at a specific day and time, which can be really great to really free up time for yourself. And it's also a really great way in order to batch content. So you could create a month's worth of posts all at once and just have them all set up to post, and then you're done. You don't have to do too much. Now, I will warn you, if you are doing that, make sure that you are still going on every day for at least 10 minutes to engage. You need to be liking, you need to be commenting on stuff that's relevant. So either local stores that are relevant for your business, or like practitioners, or even just the people who are following you. That will all help get your visibility higher. Yeah, I know I'm currently experimenting myself. I used to post every single day in Instagram when I was at my peak. But obviously things have slowed down. Even before a little bit of COVID, I was just getting too busy. So choosing how often to post really just depends on how often you can commit to posting. Whatever you choose, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you're consistent. So if it's only one time a week, just make sure you're posting that one time a week. If you want to post every day, make sure you're posting every day. Instagram tends to not show your content as well if you're being very, very inconsistent. So personally, I'm actually using Trello now to kind of batch my content, and then I just kind of go in and post it when it's time to do it.
It's good to know.
It is.
Chris, do you have a question?
I was just wondering, how long can a video be?
That's a very good question, actually. So it depends on what area of Instagram you want to post to. So in your own feed, a video can only be 60 seconds long. In the stories, it can be up to 10 minutes long. If you're doing a live, it can be longer, and then you can actually save it. So after you're done your live, there will be a little button that says save. If you press save, you can post it to other platforms as well. Also, when you're done a live, you can also save it as an IGTV, and that can be up to 10 minutes long. No, actually, maybe even longer. I'll have to double check on that, actually. But yeah, I find that the longer the video, the less people watch the whole thing. So keeping things a little bit shorter tends to be better. So if you have a really big topic to talk about, then maybe breaking it down so that you have like maybe 4 videos talking about that one topic would be a bit more ideal.
Learned yet another thing. This is great.
I know with the videos that we send out, the 2.5-minute ones get much better view time than the 10-minute ones.
Yeah, I try to keep most of my videos under 5 minutes if possible.
That's good to know.
It's good. I have a question, actually. So I am not a big Instagram user, as anyone will attest. I think I maybe have 3 posts ever. Where I really struggle is that, most of the things that I'm doing day to day are not particularly very visual. So I don't think I can really take a picture of my, here's a keyboard on my desk. It's the same keyboard you saw yesterday and the day before. Have you got any tips on maybe how we can try and think of something more graphical to post if you just sat in front of a screen all day, maybe?
Yeah, so same thing. Like sometimes you could take a picture of your office setup. That might be fun to kind of, if I'm a little behind the scenes kind of picture. Pictures of yourself are always great. I mean, obviously not the same picture over and over again. But you can also mix up your posts. So if it's something that's a relevant topic, you might just choose maybe just text, or you could choose just a different type of picture. Usually you want to keep the picture relevant to what you're talking about in the text. But you can kind of change it up and see what works. You can also share other people's content. So there is a way that you can share other people's content through third-party apps. Yeah, so you can also do that. I don't recommend like just sharing primarily other people's content, because then again, when people see your feed, they're seeing other people's content and not your own content.
Right.
So
that happened to me, Jen, because I don't know who knows, Dave does live DJ stuff of electronic music. And so I actually put some of the videos on my Instagram. I think that was what happened.
Yes, you did.
Instead of putting it on... so I can't post on Dave's, can I? Only he can post on his.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's what I did. I'm not doing that again.
Well, no, but I mean, like, it kind of depends. Like, if you post it in your stories and you're just like, hey, we're really enjoying this, and then you tag Dave, then he can repost it in his stories and use it for his account. And then at least it's in your story, so it's not really in the feed of your business, right?
Oh, I may not have done that.
So, my question, you mentioned something about you can post it everywhere once something's posted on here. So how do you do that again? So
are you talking about the sharing, like the sharing button in the post?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go into your profile and you go to the settings, it's like the little cog button at the bottom. You can go and link your Facebook account, your Twitter account. There's a whole bunch of other ones. Those are the only ones that I've linked up.
But you can't do it the other way around, or can you?
You know, I'm not sure anymore. There might have been the option.
I can check into that, Jen. Thanks for letting me know. That's a good tip.
And like I said before, like it's nice to push that just because it's one less thing you have to do. But like the other platform will like it better if you're posting it natively in that platform. So such as like Facebook, it performs better if you're actually performing the post from Facebook. So that's why I tend to try to keep some content that's only for one platform and I don't share with both, just to kind of increase the visibility and engagement.
That's a good tip.
Good. See? So good. So good. All right. Are there any other questions?
Well, we'd like to say thank you, Jen. That was a wonderful presentation. And yeah, there'll be a video.
Yes. Claps all round.
So obviously that'll give you a bit more visibility and it'll help a lot of people.
All right, everyone. Well, have a very, very wonderful evening, and we will see you all again soon. Take care.
To see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.